You might have a hard time believing this, but I really can say truthfully that my most valuable time to me is when I'm quiet, alone, and just thinking. Some of that time I find these little phrases and words that they're mulling around in my head. They're new ideas. They're things that I haven't thought of before, or something that I heard someone else say that really strikes me as something I need to ponder. In the last 24 hours, there were two of those that really just take all of 2018 and squeeze them together like the rubber band on the watermelon experiment. Have you seen this thing where you put hundreds of rubber bands around one watermelon until it just can't take anymore, and boom, watermelon everywhere? I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I believe if we don't take time to reflect, to ask ourselves some serious, honest, and sometimes tough questions about ourselves, about the way we've conducted the last hour, day, week, month, year, that we'll find ourselves continuing down paths that, honestly, they aren't very productive. As a result, that unquestioned process in our life that allows us to just presume that everything is okay, that we didn't really need to make any change anyway, that the problems in our life, the direction that we've gone, has all been somebody else's fault anyway. And at that point, we've decided that instead of reflection, we'll use blame as the guiding force in our life. Today is the last Leading Leaders podcast for 2018 because it's the last day of 2018. It's kind of the last chance we have, unless I decide to get the furry and do one later in the day. But I want to challenge you to ask yourself some tough questions. And I'd really love you to share your tough questions in the comments below. Maybe 5 each. What are the tough questions you're asking yourself about how did I finish this year? How will I start the next year? What are some things that I need to do differently than I did before? I want to bring up these two phrases, and they're in the comments so you can have an idea what's going through my head in case you can't remember what I said. But these two phrases I thought were very poignant. And they do kind of become the icing on the cake, the cherry on top of the cupcake for my year. The first is, value only exists where a felt need and a met need come together. I want you to think about that for a minute. How often do you encounter someone who has a need, and for the sake of your business, you want to sell them something or provide them a solution or bring an end to that need, and if you can't make that connection, if you don't understand what their felt need is, then the product you're offering them is not relevant. Relevant is a big word. For 2018, and I believe going into 2019, relevant should be a key word. If you're in any kind of business or any kind of service, or if you lead anyone, relevant matters. And value doesn't exist where there's not a met need from a felt need. And the second one was big ideas condensed into as few words as possible. In fact, Tricia, who wrote that quote, is the producer of the TED Talks series. And she said, if you can take a really big idea and condense it down to 15 words or less, then you have a good chance of selling your idea to others. So I want to go back to the 3 questions that I've been asking throughout the course of 2018. It's the primary thing that I ask of anybody who becomes a coaching client or any organization when I'm working with their leadership team. These 3 questions can change and direct the shape of your life if you let them. But don't just ask them once a year. Ask them at the end of every day. Ask them every time you've wrapped up with a client meeting. Ask them every time you prepare a new vision statement or write a new book or prepare a new product or service to launch. They can become a barometer for you. They fall under those same 2 basic ideas. Condense your ideas to 15 words or less. And value exists when a met need and a felt need come together. So here's my 3 questions. To wrap up 2018, to launch into 2019, ask these 3 questions. What do you want? What do you want? Ask yourself as a leader, as an organizational leader, as an individual running your own business or someone else's, what do you want? Now flip that question and understand that the felt need will be best identified when you can talk to the person you're serving and ask the question, what do you want? What would best help you? What would meet your needs? The second question, who's your heart broken for? Whose needs do you see need met in such a grand scale that you would reshape the direction of your life to see to it that those needs are met? And finally, what do you have to offer them? What do you have to offer them? Do you have a solution? Do you have an idea? Do you have mentorship because you've been down this path before? Do you have a product that no one has thought of before, a new invention or a new way of doing things? So what do you want? Who's your heart broken for? And what solution do you have that will change their life? If you can answer those three questions on a regular basis, then you can make 2019 a relevant year. You can make your presence in the life of someone else relevant. You can make the words that you have to say relevant. I hope and I pray for you that this next year is blessed beyond measure, that you have found the things that you need to jettison in your life and the things that you need to hold on to. You've embraced new ideas, that you've changed and evolved, that your leadership will take you down a new path. I've got all kinds of new things in the mix in the next 90 days. I'll be traveling on tour with the Opportunity Centers of America and doing some on-the-ground work with them, creating training developments, creating systems, writing new books, filming a documentary. We intend to have a lot of fun. I don't know what that's going to mean for Leading Leaders Podcast. If I can do it every day, I will. And if not, then I'll get them to you as many as I can, as often as I can. But I can tell you this. I intend to answer those three questions on a daily basis. What do you want? Who's your heart broken for? And what do you have to offer them? And every day that I can answer those three questions by changing somebody else's life, I'll be one step closer to being relevant. I'm Loren Norris for Leading Leaders Podcast on Tell It Like It Is TV. God bless you and have a great 2019.